What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, Season 4, Episode 1, To Love and Be Wise is Impossible. So, 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way, we are back again. Last season, Season 3, was hectic. It was extremely hectic. And it looks like this one is going to be just as hectic from what I can tell from the previous. But let's get into it. Let's start off with Danielle and Johan because we just got done with them from 90 Day Fiancé Love in Paradise. So we just got done with them with that. So we're very familiar with Danielle and Johan and what their background is. So Danielle is 42 years old. She is from New York City. Johan is 32 years old and he's from the Dominican Republic. So Danielle wants to get the hell out of Dodge. She wants to leave New York and live permanently with Johan in the Dominican Republic. The only problem is Johan doesn't know this yet. Johan thinks that he's on 90 Day Fiancé, OG, and he thinks that he's going to be moving to New York City with Danielle, okay? But she's going to flip the script on him, and we're going to see how that works out a little bit later. So what she hates about New York is she hates the traffic, she hates the fact that the city is so dirty, and she hates the fact that it's so expensive to live there. So she wants to leave. She says that she's looking for an easier way of life, easy living. She wants to be on the beach every single day. She just wants to chill out, relax, and just basically kind of like be on a permanent vacation and still find a way to make money. She's lived in New York for 15 years. She's a high school history teacher. I guess I completely forgot about that from 90 Day Fiancé Love in Paradise. I forgot that she was a high school history teacher, and she also has a side hustle of being a yoga instructor. She became a single mom at the age of 21. She's now 42, so her son is grown. And she also tells us that she was married at the age of 26, but she got a divorce 6 months later. Something about Danielle tells me that she's very impulsive. From what we've seen of how she's handled her relationship with Johan and the fact that she got married and then divorced 6 months later, I get impulsive vibes from Danielle. She met Johan while she was on a trip in the Dominican Republic. He was a personal trainer at the hotel that she was staying at. This has become a running theme with the 90 Day Fiancé cast. It's a very common theme that, the woman goes to some Caribbean island and she falls in love with a physical trainer, with a fitness instructor, with the people that work at the resorts, that work at the hotels. It's become like very much a running theme on this show, and it's almost like cliche now. So that's where they met when she was staying at this hotel and he was a personal trainer there. So she was traveling back and forth. They met, they fell in love. She went back to New York. She came back to the Dominican, going back and forth. On one trip, they got engaged. On another trip that she went to the DR, they got married. And them getting married is what we witnessed on 90 Day Fiancé Love in Paradise. Their whole entire wedding and what led up to the wedding, etc. We have two major issues in their relationship. Issue number one is finances. Danielle feels like she is the one that's contributing the most financially into this relationship. Well, because Johan doesn't make a lot of money. And everybody keeps telling her, Johan, his family, when she went to go visit his family, everybody tells her there's no way to make real money in the Dominican Republic. You can work and work and work and work, and you don't really see the fruits of your labor. You barely make enough to survive. Everybody is telling her this, that the economy is just not hitting like that. And still she complains about the fact that Johan doesn't contribute enough. And from what we can tell, Johan seems to be like he's working. He has a job. He's a hard worker. She doesn't say that he's unemployed or that he's just sitting around doing nothing all day. It seems like he's been able to keep employment, but the way that the economy is, what he earns is just not a lot. But for some reason, she's upset about the fact that he doesn't contribute enough. So the other issue they have in their relationship is, where are they going to live? She secretly is planning to live permanently in the Dominican Republic, and he's expecting them to live in New York. So she says that it's going to take a while for him to get his visa. And she doesn't want a long distance relationship. I think she brought this up when she was talking to two of her friends when she went out to eat with them in New York. They were asking her a whole bunch of questions about, like, realistically, how do you expect to survive in the Dominican Republic? And she says that because it's going to take a while for him to get his visa, and she doesn't want to have a long distance relationship, she is going to be living in the DR with him. So, which made me wonder, like, do you plan on coming back to the U.S.? Because you're talking about him getting a visa. Then we see her. She does her little yoga class. This was her last class before she leaves for the DR. And after class, she's talking to two of her students. And she's telling her students that this is going to be the last class because I'm moving to the Dominican Republic to be with my husband. And one of her students says, something about, well, I hope that he's not a Sankey Panky. And I was like, what the hell is a Sankey Panky? I've heard of Yahoo Boys. I've heard of Yahoo Boys, but what the hell is a Sankey Panky? So a Sankey Panky is a man who is from that particular island or country, and they work at a resort, and they look for Western women to basically take advantage of. They try to, strike up a relationship with a Westerner, and then eventually they want that Westerner to support their lifestyle and to eventually get them the documents necessary to move to Europe or America or wherever they want to go. So they're like, well, girl, I hope he's not a Sankey Panky. Anyways, so Danielle tells she's talking about how she wants to live in the DR permanently. Her friends ask her, well, how are you going to afford living in the DR? And she says that she's going to manifest it. Now, Danielle is one of those very spiritual people. She's all about yoga, spirituality, manifesting the universe to make it do what you want it to do. She believes in rituals and crystals and potions and stuff like that. I don't want to say it's not witchcraft, but it's, she says that her spiritual beliefs or something derives from some West African religion, which I can't think of the name of right now, but it's derivative of a West African religion, and that's what she's really into. So she tells her friends, I'm going to manifest this wonderful, productive life in the DR. She says that she sees herself teaching yoga, doing online Zoom classes. And she tells her friends, Johan thinks that I'm going to be applying for a visa for him, and eventually we're going to move to the United States. But she has not applied for a visa. She has no intentions for applying for a visa for Johan. And so her friends are like, girl, what are you doing? So why are you making this man think that you're going to be doing all this for him to come to the United States? Like, what? So then she tells her friends that with her job, if she would have stayed another year at her job, she would have been given an additional $15,000 a year as part of her pension package. So the friends are like, so why don't you just do that? Girl, you're going to give up $15,000 a year extra as part of your pension for your retirement because you can't wait a year to go live with your husband. And Danielle says, you know what? When I'm 65 years old, an extra $15K is not going to mean anything to me. Girl, that's what I'm saying. This woman is very impulsive. She doesn't think things through. Like, are you kidding me? When you're in your old age and you cannot work and most likely being single, you don't think that an additional $15,000 a year is going to mean anything to you. Okay, we shall see. Now we're with Johan in the Dominican Republic. Johan is adorable. Okay, Johan is I've always thought that Johan was just cute as a button. He's just so adorable to me. But I got my good eye on him. Okay, so we see Johan. He's at home, I guess, and he's teaching himself English. He says that he wants to learn English, not so much or not just for Danielle, for them to communicate better, but he also wants to improve his English because he wants to eventually live in the United States. And it's going to be better. He's going to have a chance for better opportunities if he can actually speak the language. So Danielle finally arrives in the DR, and when they're still at the airport, the producer or whoever, the interviewer, they're standing side by side, Johan and Danielle. And so they're, talking to the camera, talking to the interviewer. And she tells the interviewer that at some point she's going to have to explain to Johan that they are not going back to, they're not going to the United States at all. And she's saying this with him standing right there, but he has no idea because he doesn't understand English. So eventually she does tell him. So they're driving to, I guess to the hotel or something. I don't know. They're in their car, they're driving. And this is when she decides to break the news to him that she intends to stay in the Dominican Republic permanently. And he's very confused because he's like, well, you've always told me that your intention was to stay in the Dominican Republic for just 1 year after we got married, and then we would move to the United States. And then she says, well, that was my intention during COVID. When everybody was fleeing New York, my intention was to flee to the DR, stay here for a year, and then go back. But there's no more COVID. Everybody's back in New York, and life in New York is extremely expensive. I pay $4,000 a month just for rent alone. And so Johan tells her, but life is expensive everywhere, not just in New York. So then she says to him that, well, you're not even ready to move to the United States because you're English. You don't know how to speak English. And I'm thinking to myself, girl, y'all are going to New York. Well, you live in New York. Does he really need to know how to speak English in New York? Because a lot of the cities and the states that like LA, New York, the coastal cities and the coastal states and the border states, Spanish is taken over. So I'm thinking that he would fit right in. There's a lot of people who are very successful in the United States and they don't speak the King's English. So what are you talking about, Danielle? So yeah, she's dropping this bomb on him that no, I don't want to do that. And he was like, I don't understand. This was our plan. Why are you changing your mind? And she says, well, because I have the right to change my mind. And he's like, no, you don't. And she looks at him and she's like, I don't. And then she starts kind of getting loud a little bit because she's getting very defensive because she knows she's wrong. She knows she's wrong. Girl, look, if you want to live in the DR, fine, live in the DR with your man, but you need to be upfront and honest with him at all times. I'm not saying that Johan has been upfront and honest with her the whole entire time, but girl, you cannot be doing the old bait and switch on him, telling him things are going to go one way and then, halfway through flip it to something else. Just be honest with him. Just tell him the truth and exactly what you want to do. I don't know. Maybe she feels like she can lie to him because maybe she feels like he's been lying to her about something, but we shall see. But as far as where we're at right now, Johan is not happy. And I wish that she could see things from his point of view. Living in certain parts of the world is fine. If you have the money, living in the DR is probably wonderful if you have the money. This woman doesn't even know how she's going to get a job over there. And he's telling her, and his family has told her, life in the DR is extremely hard. This is not what you want. We need to go to the United States for, a better life. But, she seems really stubborn and she seems extremely impulsive. Now, let's move on to our next couple, which is Chris and Jamie. Chris is 40 years old and she's from Hallieville, Alabama. Jamie is 30 years old and she's originally from Venezuela, but she currently lives in Bogota, Colombia. So when we first meet Chris, she is walking out of her house and she's dressed up like a fairy. And this was very reminiscent of Ella from 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way season 3 when she came out of her house dressed like a samurai warrior. I was like, what is up with these grown women wanting to come out of their houses dressed up in these costumes? But moving on. So Chris describes herself as 40 years old, going on 20. She says that she feels 20 and she says that she looks 20. She has 2 children. She's been married 2 times. And she found her soulmate, Jamie, on an international dating website. Sometimes I wonder, no, not sometimes. This was the first time that I wondered this when I was watching this particular episode. If some of these people intentionally get on international dating websites to find partners because they want to get on 90 Day Fiancé. Anyways, so that's where she met Jamie, on this website. And Chris considers herself bisexual, but she says she's more attracted to women. She's from a very small town in Alabama, which is it's called Hallieville. But she used to go over to Birmingham, Alabama, just to be able to attend the gay clubs there because I guess things like that did not exist in Hallieville. Her and Chris have been together for a year. They've never met in person. The whole entire relationship has taken place online. Chris has two grown children, 18-year-old son and a 23-year-old daughter. She says she got pregnant at the age of 16, and she got pregnant the very first time that she laid down with the man. So when we see her, she's getting ready to leave her whole entire life behind in Alabama to move to Columbia. Once she's there, she tells her kids that once she arrives in Columbia, her and Jamie have 9 days to get married. At first I thought she said 90. And I was like, okay, duh, yeah, 90 days. But no, she has 9 days. They have 9 days to get married upon her arrival in Columbia. And they've only known each other a year, and their whole entire relationship has taken place online, and they have ran into a couple of bumps in the road with their relationship. So the kids are obviously very apprehensive about this whole situation. You know, they're not really gung-ho for it. But she says this is her soulmate. And then she tells us a story that when Jamie had COVID, and she was on death's door. She had COVID really, really bad. She was really sick. According to Chris, she said that was when she realized how much she loved Jamie, and that's when she wanted to commit her life to Jamie, was when Jamie was struggling or fighting for her life with COVID. Now, when we see Jamie, this is what we know about Jamie. She moved to Columbia for better opportunities, and also because in Columbia they're more accepting of LGBTQIA+ than they are in Venezuela. She says that she never told her parents that she was gay. So up until this point, I don't think that her parents know. She says that her family is very conservative. She never really had a girlfriend until she met Chris online. So after talking for about a month, Chris told her that she wanted to marry her, and I'm assuming that she accepted. Then we see Jamie talking to her friends on FaceTime, and she's telling her friends how excited she is, how nervous she is about Chris arriving in Columbia, which is going to be in a few days. And so one of her friends reminds her and says, okay, girl, you're still going to go through with this even after Chris ghosted you for 20 whole days and not a word from you. Like, what is going on? Why do you still want to do this when you couldn't find her for 20 days? And so Jamie tells us that we don't know the reason why yet, but early on in their relationship, Chris disappeared. There was no contact, no communication, no nothing. The woman was gone for 20 days. And so I guess Jamie was like, okay, I guess it's over. So she went on and she moved on to somebody else. So she got back online and she met a new woman from Texas. And so they began a relationship. And she said that she needed to, get involved with somebody else to deal with the pain that she was going through of Chris leaving her. But eventually Chris came back. So when we see Chris again, she's talking with her mom, and her and her mom are having a conversation about her leaving. And of course her mom doesn't like this. Her mom is not really supporting her moving to Columbia, and she has a lot going on. She's got a house that burnt down that she's trying to renovate and rent out. She has another house that she's trying to either sell or rent out or do a rent to buy situation. She's leaving 2 jobs behind to go live in Columbia with no job. So that's going to be very difficult for her. And on top of all of that, this woman has narcolepsy, because her mother was like, so what are you going to do about health care with your narcolepsy? And a big question mark. I don't know what the hell she said about that. Her mom is a devout Christian, but her mom says, it is not my place to judge my daughter. That is between her and God. Her lifestyle is between her and God. So then, So then we talk about how Jamie was actually sending money. Chris was sending money to Jamie. And I was like, here we go. She was sending money to Jamie when Jamie was sick with COVID. So then Chris tells us her side of the story. She said that she doesn't say why she disappeared for those 20 days, but she said that when she came back, she thought her and Jamie were still together. But this woman from Texas, who Jamie began talking to when Chris was gone, contacted her. So this Texas woman contacts Chris and says, hey, are are you so and so? Do you know Jamie? Because me and Jamie, we've been talking and we've been having a relationship. And I see that she posted pictures of you on her Facebook. And, she's saying that she's in a relationship with you. So Chris was like, oh, do tell. Show me proof that you've been talking to Jamie. So this Texas woman sends her all kinds of screenshots, I guess, of their text messages. And part of the things that Jamie was telling this Texas woman was that she was just using Chris for money. And then she was never sick with COVID. She was working the whole entire time that she claimed she was sick. And Chris was sending her money. So it was kind of like, this is a money grab situation that Jamie was just using Chris for money. But Chris still wants to go through all of this. She still wants to go through with going to Colombia, living there, getting married to Jamie. She wants to go through all of this, even though she found out that Jamie was just using her for money. But I guess Chris is choosing to believe, she's choosing to believe Jamie, because when she confronted Jamie about what this Texas woman told her, Jamie denied it, said it wasn't true. And, she really loves her, blah, blah, blah. Let's make it work. And so I guess Chris is going to take a leap of faith and, put all her trust in Jamie again and hope and pray that it's all going to work out for the best. I have no idea. It's too early to give opinions on what I think about this or that, because we're just laying down the foundation for these people. Let's move on to Rishi and Jen. Rishi is 32 years old. He lives in India. Jen is 46 years old, and she is from Oklahoma. So when we see Rishi, he is in the middle of washing his hair. It's all about his hair for this guy. He's very much into his looks. He's got long curly hair. I wasn't that impressed. Not at all. I mean, I've seen better. He's got what he uses like about 15 different products in his hair, something called onion shampoo. Lord have mercy. He was washing his hair as if he had like the locks of who was it? Was it Samuel that had the long hair? And then when he got Delilah cut his hair for him to lose his strength. He thinks he's like Samuel from Samuel and Rishi, it ain't all that, honey. It ain't all that. So he used to be an attorney. Okay. He was a lawyer in India, but then he quit that corporate job because he says he felt too trapped. So then he became a fitness trainer / model. Red flags, anybody? So Jen, 46 years old, no children, never been married. I'm thinking she lives on a family farm. And she says that she has a track record for falling for the wrong guy. She would choose guys who were good looking, very charismatic, but not really made for commitment and long-term relationships. And I'm like, other than the whole commitment part, which we don't know right now, isn't Rishi that? Isn't he somebody who's good looking and very charismatic? I mean, like, what is the difference between Rishi and the other people that she dated in the past? So she met Rishi when she was traveling to India at a hotel lobby. And when they met, he automatically started showing her all of his modeling pictures. Isn't that another red flag? Like, why is that interesting to you? Why would you be attracted to that, Jen? She says at first it turned her off or whatever, but there was something about Rishi that had her coming back. So, I mean, I would not be interested in somebody who, on the first time that I meet them, they want to show me their modeling pictures, unless she asked to see them. Maybe he mentioned it, like, oh, what do you do for a living? I'm a model. Oh, do you have any pictures maybe she has to see them to see if he was telling her the truth. So, a month after meeting, he proposed. She accepted. COVID prevented her from going back. So after about 2 years, when the borders finally opened again in India, now she's going to be going back over there to go see him. She's talking to her brother about, her plans to leave Oklahoma to go live in India. Obviously, her brother is against it. Her brother was like, what about the time when he ghosted you? Like, what is up with all these people just disappearing on their partners? Her brother was like, remember that time when you couldn't find him and he wasn't communicating with you and you couldn't contact him? And she was like, yeah, but we're over all of that. And then we see a clip of her, like she was doing like a video call. I guess during the time when he had ghosted her, she sent him a video message about how, well, it was nice knowing you and I really loved you with all my heart and all this nonsense. And I'm like, girl, what are you doing? If somebody quit taking my calls and wasn't responding to me, the last thing I'm doing is sending them a video message with myself crying, pouring my heart out. I'm gonna do that in the privacy and darkness of my own room, not on camera and then sending it to them. Anywho, so yeah, we'll see how that works out. But that looks extremely problematic. And Rishi, I'm sorry, but you're hurrying all that. We see his modeling pics. They're okay. I feel like he should have stayed being a lawyer. Moving on to Gabriel and Isabel. Gabriel, 32 years old, lives in Florida. Isabel, I guess she's 30 something years old, lives in Colombia. So we have two now from Colombia. We always have Colombia. So Gabriel is the proud owner of a company called Get More Proudwear. And what he makes is underwear, I guess, like, boxer briefs for trans men. Gabriel is trans himself. He is a trans man. And you learn something every single damn day. So evidently in the trans male community, there's an issue of appearing to be anatomically correct if you haven't had bottom surgery yet. So trans men have to resort to their own devices to appear anatomically correct when they're wearing, pants and shorts and underwear and stuff like that. So a lot of them would have to use like socks or whatever. Okay. So Gabriel, with his genius self, invented kind of like these boxer brief shorts that already come equipped with the right equipment. So when you're wearing these boxer briefs and you look like you're an anatomically correct trans man. I hope I'm saying everything correctly. I'm trying to be as respectful as I can. If I've messed up, if I said something wrong, my apologies. I'm just ignorant. I'm learning. I'm doing the best I can. So the shorts that he invented, or the boxer briefs that he invented, will help trans men not have to worry about putting things in and out. Because he gave an example of one day he was swimming before he came up with this invention, and whatever he was using to appear anatomically correct went away. It floated away. It was floating bye-bye. So he wanted something more permanent, and this is the invention that he came up with, which I thought was, genius. So moving on. So while traveling in Colombia to sell his product there, he met Isabel at a friend's house. So it was instant attraction. They got along. Everything was wonderful. Initially, Gabriel did not tell Isabel that he was trans. And eventually, he did tell her. Eventually, he did tell her, and she was very accepting of it. It was fine with her because she says, "You know what? I see you as a man, so it doesn't really make any difference to me." At 16, Gabriel came out as a lesbian. Then later on in life, he came out as trans. Isabel's parents do not know. They know about Gabriel and Isabel being together, but they do not know that Gabriel is trans. Gabriel says that he really doesn't feel the need to tell everybody that he knows. Like, there's some friends that don't even know that he's trans, but he feels the need to tell Isabel's parents because he wants to have a life with Isabel, and he wants everything to be laid out on the table. He doesn't want any secrets. He doesn't want to hide anything. He wants to be upfront with them. Next time we see Gabriel, he's at a tattoo parlor and he's getting Isabel's name tattooed on his arm. And then his sister walks in. I think her name is Monica. His sister walks in and Gabriel says, "Something told me that you'd show up." Well, the person doing the tattoo is his sister's husband or boyfriend. And so the sister is questioning, okay, so you're getting another girl's name tattooed on you. What about the previous girl that you were dating? What are you going to do with her name that you had tattooed on you? And Gabriel says, "I'm just going to black it out." It's on the back of his neck. And so he's like, "You know what? I don't even really think about it because I don't see it. But eventually I'm just going to black it out." So then the sister tells Gabriel, you're very impulsive. You're constantly jumping in and out of relationships without really thinking things through or giving yourself enough time to heal from one before starting another. Of course, Gabriel's like, Isabel is my soulmate. We're meant to be, blah, blah, blah. So then the sister says, well, I thought you didn't even want to date another woman who had children, because that must have been an issue in a previous relationship. And Gabriel says, well, Isabel's children are practically grown and they can take care of themselves. But they're 11 and 16. No, they're not practically grown and they cannot take care of themselves. We're so far away from that. They can barely take care of themselves at 18. So, yeah. So, but he says that he gets along with her kids. It's no big deal. And that, Isabel is the one that primarily deals with the children. He doesn't have to worry about babysitting them. I guess he was more concerned about dating women who have very young children. And maybe he had to like act as a babysitter or something. And that's not what he's all about. So these kids are grown. And when mom is at work, they can be left to their own devices, right? So then there was this thing about how he has been paying Isabel's bills. Did I hear that correctly? He's paying her bills? What the hell was she doing before she met Gabe? How was she taking care of herself before she met Gabe? So this is just a foundation. Like I said, not enough for me to work with to give my personal opinions about this and that. But y'all, I hope that y'all are going to join me for this crazy ride of 90 Day Fiancé the other way. I don't want to give, like, okay, for example, Rishi and Jen, Red Flag City. Rishi and Jen, Red Flag City. Danielle and Johan, they could probably work it out. I feel like there's true feelings. There's real feelings between them. Chris and Chris, I don't understand how you can want to be with someone who blatantly lied to you about having COVID and dying just for you to send them money. I don't get that. And then Gabriel and Isabel, this not enough. I don't have enough information. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please do not forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe. And I most definitely will talk to you later. Bye-bye.